So I'm Dean Thomas, Managing Director of CFS, and in this video we're going to talk about the importance of pre-planning your funeral.
We're going to talk about the importance of funeral planning and why everyone should have a plan in place. So what's your views on that to start off with?
I think it's important that everybody has a conversation with their family and who's going to be left of what their wishes are, so that A, they can ensure that they have what they want, and secondly, it doesn't leave families with difficult decisions when they are in grief or in shock.
What would you say then the benefits of pre-planning a funeral are?
So the benefits of pre-planning a funeral are that you've got time to research what the options are, consider what you want, what your family wants, and then take the time to actually look at, is it possible? What are the costs? What do you need to put in place? It means then that those left behind are not making decisions that they're not sure what you wanted. Your wishes have been put down on paper so that you're not, for example, having a humanist funeral if you were religious, and vice versa, having a religious funeral if you weren't religious. You can put down whether you wanted to be a life celebration, traditional funeral, so it gives the benefits to yourself and everybody left behind that they know exactly what you want, and there's no surprises with costs. You know what the costs would be, and also that you haven't left wishes for something that is not possible to do.
You spoke a bit about costs there, so what would you say the benefits, the financial benefits are specifically about pre-planning?
So when you pre-plan your funeral, if you speak to a funeral director, we can work out exactly what the costs are, so we can give you a price at today's prices of what those costs are. There's a lot of adverts on television suggesting funerals are £9,000. Equally, we have families who think you can have a funeral for £999, so it enables you to put an exact figure at today's prices, so then you can plan for the finances so that you know whether it's achievable and that money's been put aside, or you've prepaid for the funeral ready for when you need it.
And then what would you say the practical benefits of pre-planning are?
So the practical benefits of pre-planning are that when the time comes, your family know exactly what you want, so that it helps them that they haven't got to make those decisions, that things are in place, so they know things like what music you wanted, are there any readings you wanted, are there any poems, what your wishes were, do you have any transport wishes like horse-drawn hearse, motorbike hearses, clothing, is it traditional black clothing, celebration, so people know exactly what you want and everything is ready to just enact and put into place, as opposed to thinking at a difficult time.
So then you spoke about it just before, but the benefits of the emotional side of pre-planning the funeral, I imagine that's like a big thing and a big help to people who actually do pre-plan. So what would you say the benefits are from the emotional side of families?
So the benefits for the emotional side is you don't have questions about what did the person who's died want. Do they want to be buried? Do they want to be cremated? Do they want religious service, non-religious, attended, unattended? The family know that exactly what they want to do. You also don't have family disputes where one person might say they wanted religious, the other one might say they didn't. Families can have disputes over finances. You can have somebody who's more vocal, out speaking, somebody who's got the full information, so it solves family disputes. It means that they know exactly what you want, and it allows everyone to focus on grieving or doing what they want to do, as opposed to making decisions.
So have you got any examples of any pre-planned funerals that have been taken out recently by a family, or anything that you wanted to share of their experiences, what questions they asked and how you helped them?
We've had, over the years, many different types of funerals. The one thing that's happening of late is with the rise in direct cremations, we're having people who either want to make sure that's what they have, or make sure that that's not what they want. So people are specifying if they want a service or not. People are also specifying more and more about life celebrations, what they want. Over the last couple of months, we've had an increase in people who've inquired about having ashes put into fireworks, for example. We've had people talk about horse-drawn hearses, more life celebration, more modern funerals, and particularly since the death of the Queen, people have become more interested in actually planning their funerals.
What would you say, or are there any common misconceptions about funeral planning or pre-planning a funeral?
One of the biggest misconceptions is that your money's not safe now if you take out a prepaid funeral plan. Prepaid funeral plans were unregulated. They are now regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. So anybody who now takes out a funeral plan, that money is safe. So that's one of the biggest preconceptions, that your plan provider could go bust and you lose money, as people have done in the past. That now wouldn't happen. The other misconception is that you can have a plan and use any funeral director. Some funeral plans, you can only use certain funeral directors, and as funeral directors, we can now only sell one plan. So, for example, we sell ecclesiastical, we cannot sell Golden Charter, Golden Leaves, example. So there is less choice. So you need to look at which funeral director you want and then find out what plans they actually sell. But all plans are now regulated.
All right, that makes sense. So then what tips or what help would you give someone or a family who are looking to start the funeral planning process? And it'd be good if there's a specific family you could use as reference, like how they came to you and how you helped them.
So I think the first part is to speak with us, and then we can sit down with you and we can find out exactly what you want. We can question those decisions. Things like, for example, recently a family member wanted her ashes scattered, but the family felt it was important that they had somewhere to attend. So based on that discussion, the plan eventually was changed to the burial of the ashes so that the family had a plot to attend. And similarly, we've had people who initially said they wanted a direct cremation with no attendance, but the family members wanted a ceremony. So we put something together that gave a very simple attended ceremony for the family to be able to attend. But the important thing is to speak with us, and then over a series of meetings we can put everything together and give you the questions to think about with no obligations, but at least it's researched, and we can look as professionals and think about things you may not have considered.
Yeah, I think that's a great example of how people may think they want one thing and then want the other, isn't it? And where do you think these specific people or anybody can find resources or support from you? Would it just be ringing up the phone, coming in, online, or where can they find this stuff?
So we've got on our website, we've got a lot of options, different coffin options, different options to personalise through our YouTube channels, our social media. There's also, you can just use the internet or speak with us and we'll point you in the right direction. But the important thing is to speak with us, and we will, at your pace, work through exactly what your wishes are.
The other question we've got here is, when I'm wanting to pre-plan a funeral, would I have to pay all the money up front? Is that another common misconception, or how does it kind of work?
So the first part is pre-planning. So with pre-planning, there is no link to paying for the funeral. So pre-planning enables you to write down what your wishes are, what you want to do. We can give you then an estimate of what those prices are at today's rates. Some people then establish that they have life assurance that will cover. They might have a house that will cover. Some people take out prepaid funeral plans, which can be paid in one payment or over a number of payments. It's down to what the individual wants, but pre-planning a funeral is different from prepaying for a funeral. So we would urge everyone to pre-plan for a funeral, but not everybody needs to prepay for a funeral.
So if somebody was looking or thinking about a funeral plan, when would it be right for them to come and get a funeral plan, or who wouldn't it be right to get a funeral plan for? Would you say it's everybody, or is it a specific type of person, or how? What advice would you give somebody if they weren't sure on the fence about planning for their funeral?
I think The most important category would be anybody who's in or likely to go into a care home, so that then the care home knows what's needed at the time. Also, if you've prepaid for the funeral, it's money that can come out to the estate before care costs. The second category really would be people who are looking to put their end-of-life affairs into place and want to make sure that, for example, their will might include their wishes for their funeral. They may be looking at their financial affairs. We've had families who've released capital from their houses and have paid for the funeral plan and then used the rest of the money to enjoy their life. So generally, it tends to be people who are later in life than people who are younger, because most younger people need the money to pay for rent, mortgages, and general living costs.
And then what would be the benefits of going to CFS to plan the funeral then?
So the benefits of coming to us as CFS, we've got over 30 years experience as funeral directors. We have been Regional Funeral Planner of the Year several times. None of our staff are on commission. There are no sales targets. We'd rather that you walk away without taking out a plan. If that's what's best for you, we'll take time to sit with you, and we are funeral directors as well, so we know what can and can't be done locally, and we can give you an exact figure, as opposed to an off-the-shelf plan or speaking with someone like a will writer who may not know, for example, that you can't be buried in a churchyard necessarily, and you can't have a humanist funeral in a church. So at CFS, we've got the experience as funeral directors and as pre-planners.